them. The way you want to start the tournament, probably you had to have a great feeling after that day, I'm thinking. And then day 2 just goes and shows you what this place can do.
Yeah, this is a very, very humbling sport. But even the first day, even though I did have a big bag, deep down inside, they were asking me, man, you're doing good. You're catching them. I kind of, some days you just have a day you can't explain, and that was one of them. Like, you just go up, and I went to one dock and caught a 4.5, and I caught a 4-pounder on a buzz bait, and then I was like, let me go out deep, and I go out deep, caught one on the Carolina rig, then I go back in shallow with a shaky head and catch a couple more big ones, and then I come in, and it looks like I'm on them and I'm smashing them. But the truth of the matter is, some days in fishing, you just have one of those days, and that was that day. The way I was the next few days was the truth of the matter.
And we've interviewed a lot of guys over the last 3 days, and a lot of them have said, David Dudley, and not that you're a junk fisherman, but the amount of versatility that you've got. They're like, this thing was really lining up good for him. I'm only good at this. This guy's only good at this, but that you are so well-rounded that they really felt like this was your tournament, kind of. I'd heard that from a lot of guys.
Well, that's good to know they were thinking that way, and I like to think of myself as a good junk fisherman, but I think they were wrong in guessing that, because if I was that good, I'd still be out there. But I was happy to make it to the, at least to the third day, because that's what it takes. You got to make the right decisions at the right time. And the first day, despite me catching a big bag and knowing what I was on, I was still able to come through with a big bag, and that's what it takes in this style tournament.
In the past, you've always made the right decisions at the right time. We all know what you're capable of, 3-time Angler of the Year, a Forrest Wood Cup champion. But it takes me back to 2012 on Lake Champlain. I remember watching a TV show. It was one of the strongest things I've ever seen. Dudley sitting up there fishing shallow, and just something about your instincts kicked in and said, the water's kind of pulling out, the wind's blowing from the other direction. It's probably getting deeper on that side of the lake. You remember what I'm talking about? Yeah. And you went out there and fished that wood way out in the middle of the bay that nobody was fishing, and it turned out to be a game changer.
Yeah, when you're out in your if you spend a lot of time in your office, which outside is my office, you become in tune with wind and weather and rain and all kinds of the elements that you throw out there. And by paying attention to the wind direction at Lake Champlain, I knew when that wind would let down, it would have a backflush. And when you had a backflush, which ends up raising the lake level at the north end of the lake, I knew that the fish would probably end up going shallow. So, anytime you spend a lot of time outside, just like now, you can feel stuff in the air. You know what's about to happen weather-wise. Same thing in fishing. The more time you spend on the water, the more time you follow your instincts, the better you're going to be.
We have several people standing out here. I'm just going to quickly poll the office. This shows why he is the best in the world, and you may not be. Who feels anything in the air right now? No? Me either. But you do, and you know when that time is right and when to do it. So we can sit up here and say you've got the instincts, this and that. You put that 18-pound bag, just like Philip said. Everything seemed to go right on that day. He caught 4-pounders where he didn't expect to catch a fish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some of the unexplainable, like day 2, I went back skipping some docks with a shaky head, and I got just the same amount of bites but only caught 3 keepers. So I've always said in fishing, the only thing in fishing that's luck is big fish. Fishing is not luck because the same people come out on top year after year after year. But in fishing, there is a little bit of luck, and that is big fish. So what I mean by that, if I flip by that log, I set the hook, I caught a 2-pounder. You flip by that log, you set the hook, you caught a 6-pounder. Well, you kind of got lucky on the size, but you create more chances of that luck happening on the big fish by the amount of fish you catch. So if you went out and you only caught 10 fish that day, well, the odds of you catching a bigger fish than me on average is going to be lesser than when I went out and I caught 25 that day. Odds says eventually, if I set the hook 25 times, eventually I'm probably going to have a bigger bag than you. So
bringing 20 fish to the scales in this tournament is tough for a lot of anglers. It was tough on you, tough on Philip, but it's tough on a lot of them. Like Jacob Wheeler. He had 5 the first day, 4 the second, 3 the third. There's a few guys up here. Michael Woolley, I believe he had a 4-day bag one day. there's a few guys that are just consistent enough. These guys at the top, the Brent Ehlers, Thrift, Gagliardi, Canterbury, Ashley, Heron. Those are about the only 6 that have just been so consistent on getting 5 and the right 5.
Yeah, this is a tournament. Summertime tournaments are about the grind. You can come in with a big bag one day, but those guys who consistently are going to catch those mid-teens are going to be the ones that are going to thrive, and that's what you're seeing right here on the leaderboard.
That's what we've seen. How about our man in 10th place coming into today, Steve Kennedy? Kind of a slower start to the tournament. He got it turned on enough to make his top 20 cut. He got it turned on enough to make that top 10 cut. I think if this tournament might be one more day, if we could extend it to go into a 5th day, he might be in business. I heard he had 2 5-plus fish this morning. He rounded out that limit. He started out the day 9 pounds behind your leader, Brent Ehlers, though.
Yeah, Steve Kennedy is such a cool angler. Like, he is either going to just stomp him or he's going to be like, what are you doing, Steve? I mean, he's just that type of fisherman. So seeing him coming in, already having 2 5-pounders in the boat, there is no telling what they do. And everybody has their little niches and things they do. Steve Kennedy is the king of swim baits. And anytime you're throwing big, giant swim baits around this shallow water, he could possibly come in and defeat a 10-pound deficit and come out on top.
He's historically known and does really well on blue heron lakes. Oh. In the past, he throws that swim bait around these heron lakes. That's what I know him as.
Yep. Yeah, he's a swim bait king. There's few people that I would love to get in a boat with and just sit back there and be a fly on the motor. And Steve Kennedy's one. I just would love to watch him and see what he does with that swim bait that I can't do, because I'm not that good of a swim bait fisherman. I don't like them. I hate watching a bass come up and chase them, but he does something that he makes them eat them versus me that I can't do. But he's a guy, if anything could be done, Steve Kennedy could come back. The clouds are coming in. He could come back and stomp them.
5 o'clock.
Let's talk about your 3rd-place angler right now, Chevy Pro Anthony Gagliardi. We've already talked about it. We know what kind of hardships he had at the beginning of the year. To come back and make it in 5 tournaments to the Forrest Wood Cup, would you have ever even thought it's possible with the amount of competition that's out here?
No, and not at all. But the thing that's so impressive about that is that when he had that happen to him at the very first tournament of the year, dude, that's like that weighs on your head for like forever. And for him to overcome that mentally and for him to be where he's at today, I heard rumors of some trouble out there on the water with some people not being courteous to him out there on the water. And I can only imagine, but with Anthony and he's got ice in his veins, so I think he was all right out there after a while.
The reports that we've got from the water is he's got right around a 13, maybe 13-plus pound bag right now. And so sitting in 3rd place, only 2 pounds off your leader, Brent Ehlers. You got to watch him for sure.
Yeah, the funny thing about it, we're here in South Carolina, and Anthony's just got an unbelievable fan base here. And I know people and women and men, I reckon some men go and get their nails done, but the one good thing about this right now is they're not going to be getting their nails done, because I think everybody's going to be biting their nails off, hoping that Anthony's going to come through. And what a great thing to do is to come back and just absolutely win it after a start he had.
A lot of people out here, right? Listen, can I get everybody's attention right here? Anthony Gagliardi, Casey Ashley, Brian Thrift, Scott Canterbury, who's our other one, and Brent Ehlers, okay? Who are we going for? Let me hear it. Who? Well, I heard a few Gagliardis, and that's kind of what I was going for. You said their fan base, and we got a good 20, 30, 40 people standing here, and Gagliardi, you're right, does have a fan base, but like Daniel said, what he did to get here has never, I don't think it's ever been done that someone only did it in five tournaments.
Yeah, I don't, normally 6 tournaments scheduled by either 3rd tournament, you're knowing whether or not you're going to have a good chance. And for him to start off with 5, I mean, dude, that's like, I can't even begin to describe what that would be like. That's just like climbing Mount Everest. I've said it before about him. He climbed Mount Everest and Mount Fuji all in 1 year.
Quite an accomplishment, Daniel.
Here we go. Scott Canterbury, Straight Talk Wireless Pro. The report we got on him just a little bit ago, he's got a limit, we think, but he says he has for sure lost the $500,000 fish today. Not saying he won't catch another one that'll get him there, but he had the fish on that he knows would have won this tournament for him.
Yeah, the thing is about Scott, I know he's going around throwing a buzzbait, and a buzzbait is typically known for just catching those huge bass. And for him to have said that, he probably did collide into one bass that was ready to bite. That was $500,000. You know, that wrecks your nerves. It would wreck my nerves knowing that I just watched $500,000 come up and say, hey, buddy, and then get off and swim back around wagging his tail at you saying, I bet you wish you had me. That would get on your nerves a little bit. It'd be hard to overcome that.
The good thing is, though, is it looks like he started getting something figured out yesterday. You know, he had a good day 3, and it's continuing on for him today. I mean, he does have a limit, I believe, and so even though he lost that big one, he's still got time. Our weigh-in's not until 5 o'clock today, so he's got a little time on the water still.
Oh, yeah, and again, Scott Canterbury is known for a guy who sometimes he doesn't start off as strong, and then once he gets keyed in on what to do out there, he will continue to climb throughout the whole tournament. So if I was going to pick a dark horse who's got a really good shot at coming back in and winning this thing, it's going to be Scott Canterbury. Like I said, I think all the nail salons out here are going to lose money next week because everybody in the crowd is going to be biting their nails trying to figure out who won this thing.
It will be one exciting weigh-in for sure.
You know, we've seen a ton of big fish come to the scales. We just talked about Scott Canterbury losing a big fish, but another angler out there that's been fishing this week, it's been seriously consistent, is in the 6th place, Matt Herron. You know, he had 10 pounds on day 1, almost 11 pounds on day 2, almost 12 pounds yesterday. And coming from the reports, we might see our second 6-pounder hit the scales today.
Oh, well, that would change the mix-up extremely quick. I know he's just a few pounds back, but that's the type of bite you need in a championship to just vault you to the top. And if he's got a 6-pounder and he's known for a heavy bag, he's like a Steve Kennedy. A Steve Kennedy is either he's a consistent angler, but then all of a sudden Steve Kennedy will just pull these mega bags out of nowhere. And same thing is with Matt Herron. Matt Herron's a consistent fisherman, but you can never count out that just oddball mega stringer. And, yeah, I'll go along with that in a heartbeat. Yeah, Matt Herron could definitely, if he just caught a 6-pounder, the sun's getting up, they're biting better later in the day, yeah, he could definitely bust a big bag.
That goes back to what you were just saying about once you catch enough fish throughout the day, the odds are you're going to jump on a giant, and he's catching a ton of fish.
You know, we've got a really good opportunity this year for our first 2-time Forrest Wood Cup champion. We've got a ton of guys that have already won one in this top 10. You know, Jacob Wheeler, a guy that's finished first already, he's got a second-place finish in these Cups. He got into day 4. It doesn't look like he's having the day, though, that he was looking to have. The last report I had was couldn't buy a bite, and then about the time he was thinking that, he got his first keeper of the day. But here we are, you know, at the 1:30, 2 o'clock range, and just now getting that first fish in the boat.
Yeah, the one thing about these lakes, like with Lake Murray, there's so many boats that come out and enjoy their water that they have. It's a beautiful lake, and with that comes a lot of boat wake. And anytime you're fishing shallow down on the lower end of the lake in the summer, typically Saturdays and Sundays are going to disturb that type of water. The guys who are up in the river, where it's not as much boat traffic, as you can tell, they're the ones coming in with the big bags, today and yesterday and today. So if I was to go back and look at it again, I probably would have stayed down at the lower end during the week, Thursday and Friday, and just took a gamble and went up the river Saturday and Sunday when the boat traffic took out. And I think that's what's Jacob's problem. I know he's down there near the dam. I would have to almost say boat traffic is killing him today.
I know for a fact he's actually been at the dam today, left it, been back to the dam, left it, been back to the dam today. So he's really wanting to get those bites down there. But like you say, it may just be boat traffic keeping him from doing that.
You know, guys are fishing some history of the tournament, but a lot of guys are fishing new water. You know, in fact, we had a report on Scott Martin. We said it earlier in the day, but he caught a fish, turned back to his cameraman, said that I haven't even been here yet in the tournament. So some guys are even just going and are still learning about the lake today, even on the final day.
You know, this lake has a lot of fish in it. One thing you have to consider when you are catching fish, you have to think this. are these fish that I'm catching resident fish, or are these a fish that are going to continue to restock? And that's one thing as an angler, you have to understand that even when you're practicing and let's just say you got bit on a dock. Well, that fish you just got bit on a dock you have to just say, hey, was that probably a resident fish, or is that a fish that's going to continue to restock up? And what's happened here this week is even with me, a lot of the fish I caught were just a fish that was living in that area. It wasn't like fish were coming back in there. So the people who are going to thrive in this tournament are moving around. They're going to other places of the lake to fish to try to catch more resident fish or places where new fish are pulling up.
We've talked about it. It doesn't seem like there's a real true pattern, but I think I just figured it out here on day 4. The pattern is random, is what it is.
That's the pattern.
That is the pattern for this tournament because, it's not just the top guys here. Everybody, deep, shallow, deep, shallow, deep, shallow all day long. You just got to keep making those moves until you get those key bites.
Yeah, we've said it. The more you can set the hook, the better odds are you're going to have to catch a big fish. Can you come in with a big bag just only getting 5 bites? Yeah, but the people who are knocking down the door, 8 to 12 keepers a day, those are the guys who eventually are going to catch a big bag.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, this is it. We're getting down to it. We appreciate everybody that's tuned in with us over the last 3 days.
This is it.
We've got the big 5 o'clock weigh-in coming up. Go to flwoutdoors.com or flwfishing.com. Get to FLW Live. Once again, 5 p.m. Central Time. That weigh-in's going to happen. There's no stopping it at this point, man.
It is going to be the craziest weigh-in we've seen in a long time. It's a huge cast in the top 10. Exciting weigh-in. Expect to see the hot seat change and change and change all the way start. Steve Kennedy's going to bust this thing wide open, so don't miss us at 5 o'clock.
The great thing about Steve Kennedy is when he brings in his bag, it's going to electrify the crowd. Not only the crowd, but I guarantee you all 10 of the other 9 anglers are going to go, oh, my goodness. Then they're really going to start thinking in their head,
what's the next guy got?
Do I really have 11 pounds or do I have 12? Because Steve Kennedy just set the mark. Oh, my gosh. I thought I had a chance. Now Steve Kennedy's done wrecked the whole thing. So it's going to be an exciting weigh-in.
It's going to be a good one.
You better believe it. Signing off for the FLW team here, Daniel Fennel, Alan Gray, Castro Pro, David Dudley. Check us at 5 o'clock. Thank you so much.